Happy Mother's Day if you're celebrating. Whether you're a mom, you have a mom, you miss your mom, I hope you're taking some time to at least think about the important mothering figures in your life, or the people that you have to mother in your life, and that you're taking some time for yourself. I find these too hard to do all the time, every day anymore like I was, which I'm sorry if it was something you look forward to. We have to meet ourselves where we are, and we can't do everything all the time, especially all those things that we do for other people. It's important to do things for other people. I firmly 100% believe that. I believe it's important to give and be kind and to share our gifts and talents. But I also believe that we have to take care of ourselves, that we deserve to take care of ourselves, that we're worth our own care and our own kindness and consideration. And so I find myself coming to do this when I've got the mental and emotional energy to do it. And so I hope that when you have the mental and emotional energy, that you join me on your mat, on the floor, in a quiet space to practice and to find your breath. So join me. We're going to start with puppy pose. Puppy pose, I don't teach all that often. It's a hybrid pose. It's what we do both to open our heart and to soften the hips. But it's sort of like if down dog met child's pose. Child's pose does not work for everybody's knees. So if your knees complain to you when I suggest we do child's pose, always come into puppy dog if it's comfortable. However, if your shoulders are not a big fan of puppy dog, come into child's pose. I'm not going to know. It's your practice. So join me. Knees are underneath your hips. Feet are in line with those knees. Try not to cross your ankles. Unlike child's pose, you don't let your hips sink. They stay up quite high, but you let your heart sink. So we come down.
You let your forehead touch the floor if it can. Your heart probably won't quite touch, but it expands outward from side to side and drops lower. And you find your breath. Always feel like you can adjust. If you have to come back further or come forward, play around with what works. Don't ever feel like you're stuck in a position that you'd rather not be in. Soften your heart and expand your breath. Let yourself just be here. Don't look for any answers. Don't expect to find some great insight. Just let yourself be present and breathe. Eventually, as you breathe in, your hands are going to come to the floor and you come back up. Spread your fingers wide, tuck your toes, down dog. Heels of your hands are strong. Don't worry about your heels touching. Let your heart press towards your thigh. And again, just be present with your breath. Relax your jaw and soften the space between your eyebrows. Eventually, you center that left foot. Inhale, raise up the right. You're going to swing that knee through the space of your hands to the floor. We're going to come into our pigeon pose, so your back leg goes long. And then you're playing around between noon and 3 o'clock on the right side with where your knee can come, where it's going to be comfortable for you to go. Heel on that right foot is pressing somewhere against your left side, hip, abdomen. Back leg's nice and long. There should be space underneath that right hip. Relax your face again. And as you come to an exhale, let yourself come forward. If it's uncomfortable for your forehead to come down, please feel free to stack your arms together or your fists. You want to find a space where you're comfortable. It's a big stretch through that piriformis muscle, your hips, your glutes. It helps us let go of some emotional tension and tightness if we're open to that. Stay with your breath. If your mind wants to wander, mine usually does, stay with your breath. Eventually, on an inhale, walk your hands back up. You bring your heart up.
Tuck your left toes. Expand your fingertips.
Exhale into down dog. If you need to, pedal those heels, bending knees, because we get a little bit of pins and needles feeling in that right leg sometimes. Eventually, when you're ready, center your right foot, raise that left, swing it through.
Somewhere between 12 and 9 o'clock on the left side, recognizing that we're not symmetrical. So your knee might not come out at the same angle. My left knee gives me trouble, so I'm never going to come out as far. But still, that left heel should be touching somewhere on your hip, your abdomen, your thigh, wherever it works for you. Right toes are pressing down into the floor. I could take my kneecap up off the ground if I wanted to, but you don't need to do that. All right, when you're ready, as you exhale, lead with your heart and come forward. Again, recognizing that whatever position you come into with your arms or your head on the right side may not be identical on the left. I almost always bring my left arm down. For some reason on this side, it's more comfortable for me. And there's nothing that says I can't do that, right? I gotta find my practice. You have to find yours. Stay as long as you're comfortable. Follow your breath. Eventually, on an inhale, we raise our head, bring our hands back to the floor. Set your heart up. Tuck your right toes. Exhale into down dog. And again, that left leg's gonna feel a little tingly. So bend those knees, pedal your heels, roll to your toes and back down. Probably don't wear socks while you practice. Then let your knees come back to the floor. We're going to come over onto our backs. As you do, make yourself comfortable. Don't again feel stuck. Get your hair out from underneath you, fix your shirt, whatever you need to do. We're going to do half bridge. So hands come down to the floor, palms down. Feet come to the mat or the floor, heels relatively close to your hips. Not so close that it causes your knees to complain, but you want them relatively close, that your feet can also be fairly broad. If they're right next to each other, sometimes that gives us a different challenge. My knees would not like that at all. Yours might be okay with it. It's a little harder to get some lift when your feet are right next to each other, but play around with what works for you. And when you're ready, as you breathe in, heels press down, hips press up. So on your inhale, you're going to raise those hips. And I sort of simultaneously start walking my shoulder blades in, but you can take your time. Walk them in over a succession of breaths, walking them closer together. So that maybe you could interlace your fingers underneath you. You of course don't have to. You can play around with your foot placement. Decide you can get closer. Your hands could also come to your heels or your ankles. Hip bones press up toward the ceiling. Knees press away from your shoulders. Your breastbone lifts up towards your chin tucks down towards your heart. Use your breath. Let your heart be broad and your face soft. Eventually, as you exhale, you slowly roll your spine back toward the floor. And then we draw our knees in, a little self-massage, rocking from side to side. And then we make our way up. You fix your sits bones. Feet together. Sit up nice and tall. Lead with your heart. We'll come forward once again. Modified Janusarasana. When you're ready to breathe in, we come up. Legs come to cross-leg. Sitting up nice and tall. Soften your jaw. Skin around your cheekbones and your chin. Stay with your breath. Smile at the people you love, either in person or via Zoom or Google Hangout or FaceTime or whatever in the world you're using right now to stay connected. Stay connected. Encourage your friends and family to breathe, to think, to be kind. That's mothering in itself, regardless of gender. Love to you all. Namaste.